Heyo! Welcome back, everybody, to the Fast Break with Taylor and Jake. Once again, my name is Taylor Harper, and over here on my left is Jake Merritt. And we're here with another installment of the Fast Break. And
what episode is this? 36?
36 or 37. One of those. But regardless, we're back. NBA's back. We're almost halfway through the playoffs. Not really. But we're getting down. We've already got 3 teams going on to the next round. We're going to dive in a little bit. First, we do have to give a little shout out to Kobe Bryant, as it was Kobe Bryant Day yesterday. Yes, yesterday, which was also my wife and I's anniversary. So, it's the best day of the year. But yeah, and I think it's really, really funny that the Lakers were playing Portland, and the score was 8-24 at one point. And then the game just kind of went.
Do you think they planned it?
No, I don't think Damian would have. Damian's not the type to be like,
not Damian, but the Lakers were like, we're going up 24-8.
Exactly.
I don't know. Whatever.
Regardless, cool little tribute. After that, the Lakers just kind of went and did their own thing.
They steamrolled them.
It was pretty bad. And Lillard will probably be out for the next game, so Portland, you guys are toast. So,
Had a good run.
Had a good little run. 1 game 1. But we got to talk about some specific players. 3 that really stand out to me. We'll dive into each individually.
We're really going to break them down.
Is Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, and Paul George. We're going to dive into those 3 players this week and talk about what their career is set up for or what their career has already been. We're going to dive in first.
What we've seen so far.
Right.
All of it.
Let's dive in first, Jake, with Mr. Paul George.
Ooh.
Paul George, I'm not gonna waste time. I'm not gonna waste time. Paul George is the worst superstar in the NBA. He is considered a superstar.
Yeah, he is.
But he is the worst out of all of them. Paul George is the biggest disappointment of the NBA as far as potential-wise, success-wise. You cannot give yourself a nickname. First, I don't like it when people give themselves nicknames.
If you give yourself a nickname, you have got to live up to it.
You have to. That is the 100% rule. You have to live up to it.
LeBron James tattooed Chosen One on his back, right? Right across the back when he was 18 years old. He's lived up to it.
He's
right?
for sure lived up to that.
Game time. That's a real thing. Skip Bayless disagrees, but,
Never mind.
I think Damian Lillard is clutch, and he kind of coined that term, game time.
Right.
But he lives up to it.
Right.
Paul George, playoff P, pandemic P, more like it.
Oh my gosh.
Playoff Pee-wee.
As I said it before, playoff piss. That's what I like to say.
P-E-E, playoff P.
Playoff P.
That's what it's like.
Playoff poser. No.
Let's we gotta go over
go
his
look at his
stats.
stats. Because this dude is a terrific regular season star. Finished 3rd in MVP voting last year.
Rightfully so.
Mm-hmm. Right. Finished 3rd in MVP voting last year. Okay? This year had a pretty good year again with the Clippers. Him and Kawhi kind of were injured a little bit. They never really played a lot together. As soon as the playoffs hit, the past 3 seasons, he has been, in one word, atrocious. Okay? He cannot, and Jake and I have talked about this in previous episodes. I think this was in probably episode number 1. I'm sure we talked about this. About the only if about the Clippers is Paul George.
In the playoffs.
Right. If they can win it on paper, yeah, they look great. But for me, the only thing I've actually been hesitant about is if Paul George can show up, and he has not shown up at all. Okay. Go for it. Take it away.
Game 3. Okay, we're just going to let the numbers speak. 3 of 14 from the field, and 1 of 7 from 3, and let's see, 9 total points. Okay, we're going to go back to Game 2. Let's get this pulled up here. Game 2, Paul George, 1 of 8 from 3, 3 of 16 from the field, and 11 total points. And then let's go back to Game 1. Let's see here. Paul George had 4 of 17 from the field, 2 of 10 from 3, and 14 total points. Now, he has played okay elsewhere as far as rebounding and assists. He's got like some fairly good, about 5 to 10 for both stats, both games. But I mean, this is your number 2 guy, and quite honestly, should probably be your number 1 offensive guy.
Right.
I think he's better than Kawhi offensively as far as shooting and playmaking. And he's got, what was it, 9, 14, and 11 points, something like that? I mean,
What did he have in game 4? I think it was 9 points as well. I think he had another 9-point game in game 4 in that miraculous overtime game we'll get into later on as well. But basically, what we're trying to say is he gave himself a nickname Playoff P. Okay? And there was the funniest commercial that happened when he was on the Pacers. It was a Gatorade commercial where he takes the game-winning shot, he goes over, grabs Gatorade, and says, "Ball game." To that day, he had actually never hit a game winner in his entire career. Why they used him, I don't even know. I think he's only hit one game winner, and that was against the Utah Jazz. Remember that little floater in the playoffs? Was it in the playoffs?
That would have been what against the yeah.
Against the Jazz.
That's right.
I think he might have hit one.
First year with the Thunder.
Right. I think he might have hit one in the corner earlier this year. But regardless, he isn't clutch. Okay. And no, a lot of players aren't clutch. There's a lot of stars that aren't clutch.
It's rare to be clutch.
Right. So you can't bash him for that. But the fact that you say that you go into a different mode around playoff time, and you show up like this.
I think he was pretty good the first...
With Indiana, he was
with
big.
Indiana.
Because he wasn't big then. He didn't have anything to live up to.
He was flying under the radar.
Right.
He was just a surprise and Cinderella story.
Right.
And he's not been...
That's why everyone was rooting for Indiana, and everyone kind of got on a little bit of the Paul George bandwagon a little bit. Yeah. And then he started getting good, and then...
But yeah, it's like, I mean, he had some good playoff series, but he was never like another person, like another level.
Right.
There's no other level that he ever ascended to in the playoffs. And the last 3 years, he was birthed by Joe Ingles, right? Joe Ingles became his daddy.
Right.
Messed him up, shut him down, got him frustrated. You just go back and watch the 2 years ago, the Jazz and Thunder. I think it was a first-round exit for him.
I think it was.
Yes, it was. He hasn't been out of the first round since 2014. Next year, again, knocked out of the playoffs by Damian Lillard. Calls it a bad shot, but whatever. He made the shot. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it doesn't matter if it's a bad shot, the shot will
He made it. It sent you home.
Right.
Okay?
You can say anything you want about it.
Then he runs to the Clippers, and I could very well see a first-round exit.
I can if Porzingis comes back. He
Porzingis
won't play
plays.
tonight.
Oh, he won't for sure.
He is out tonight. But
that's tough.
They did it without him before.
They did.
And I think we've said enough about Paul George. If you guys think differently, then that's fine. If you guys are huge Paul George fans, and I am. I have a Paul George jersey, but it was when he was on the Pacers. Like you said, a lot of people jumped on the Paul George bandwagon. I kind of did as well. I thought Paul George was great on the Pacers. And then the next guy I want to talk about is Donovan Mitchell. He is finally, or no, he isn't. The NBA is finally recognizing that he is elite. I'd go on the verge of saying he is an elite player and a superstar.
You kind of wanted to talk about the future of these players.
Right.
So let's talk about now, and then we'll get into the future. First off, now, what has his performance been in, I guess we could go the bubble, the playoffs, it matters. Would you say top 5, top 10?
I'd say top 5. I didn't have a performance in the playoffs now.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's, performance-wise, I think he is in the top 3 performers in the playoffs so far.
Because
possibly top 2. I think Luka's number 1.
Better?
I still think Luka has been better. Multiple 40-point triple-doubles. To me, you can't score 57 and lose. That's my only thing.
He's been so good.
You know what? I can't say anything because I've never scored 57 points and lost. I never scored 57 points in general. But regardless, he is literally carrying. Mike Conley had a great game 3, and Rudy Gobert did as well. So it's good that they got Mike Conley back. But those first 2 games, Donovan really carried the team 100%. Skyler, who you guys know was on the show, I was talking to him yesterday. He thinks right now, and I don't know if he thinks bubble aside, but he thinks Donovan Mitchell's a top 5 player in the league. I wouldn't go that far, because I can bam off 5 names right now who I do
Yeah.
think are better.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's finally getting the recognition that he deserves. Utah never gets any recognition whatsoever, ever.
Even he scores 57, third highest playoff scoring performance. Then he scores 51, one of 3, I believe, to score 50 plus in a series, or is it a playoff run?
A playoff series.
Okay,
So
AI and Michael Jordan, that's some pretty good company.
Yeah.
And he still can't get a segment on Undisputed.
Yeah, right.
Are you kidding me? Like, stop talking about the Lakers and the
Guys,
Trailblazers.
Lakers aren't winning it. I know I chose Lakers. The Lakers are not winning nothing. Okay, let's flat out say it.
But it's the first round upset that everyone saw coming. The Lakers winning in 4 or 5.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
maybe not everyone saw that, but nobody's too surprised how it's turning out so far.
Right.
But Donovan Mitchell is just an absolute superstar.
I don't think
Bona fide superstar.
anyone, maybe Jake did, I'm not sure, but anyone picked Denver to lose to Utah in the first round.
I think I went with Denver.
Nobody picked Denver. And Utah is on the verge of eliminating Denver tonight
4-1.
at a 4-1. Okay? Here now, could this
Without
be
Bogdanovich.
right. And Conley without the first game. And they almost won the first game. So they almost could have swept. Realistically, Utah but very well could have swept the series. Do you think, because I do think Clippers will come out on top of the Dallas Mavericks in the series. Because Denver's not a very good defensive team.
No, they're the worst. They're horrible.
Right. So do you think do you think this is just kind of a showing of what he can do with a non-defensive team?
I think his numbers are a little bit inflated. I'll put it this way: if they played the Clippers in the first round, I don't think he would have scored 50 plus.
Because let's face it, in the bubble, in the seeding games, he did not play this good.
When I watch, I really do think like people are seeing what he can do.
Right.
But no player. I mean, there's a reason that AI and Michael Jordan are the only players who have scored 50 plus in a series, right? When Donovan Mitchell comes off, he gets a pretty high screen from Gobert, and he's on Jokic. I'm like, you do just attack,
Right.
Attack. It is over. Okay, Donovan Mitchell gets into the lane, and it's pretty well over because he's gonna finish most of the time, and his passing is really improved.
Right.
This year especially compared to the past 2 years when he was kind of forced into the point guard role. I think he totally could be the Jazz's point guard.
Right.
I
wouldn't like to see that.
I don't think he will. I don't think he's gonna score 50 again in these playoffs because that'd just be absurd.
Yeah.
But I mean, 57 points is 57 points, right?
Golly, and then 51. But
And even before that, I think he had 30, and then
he had game 1 was 57, game 2 was 30, and then game 3 was 20, I believe, or vice versa. Game 2 was 20 and 30.
But he's been incredibly efficient.
Regardless. Now let me ask you a huge question. There is no question that the number 1 and number 2. Well, let me put it this way. No, let's not do. He can't be that. Leaves us right now. His comparisons are very, very similar to Dwayne Wade. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
As a Heat fan and a diehard Dwayne Wade fan, when it's all said and done, is Donovan Mitchell going to be better than Dwayne Wade? It's a lot to swallow because he's only been in the league 3 years, and literally injuries could happen. Anything could happen.
Dude, I think he's got the potential. I'd say I personally think Dwayne Wade's the 3rd best shooting guard of all time.
Me too.
I mean, he never won an MVP, but he was robbed 1 year. Should have had an MVP. 3-time champion, 1-time Finals MVP. 14, 15-time All-Star. All NBA first team multiple times, second team multiple times, only after Kobe.
Right.
All NBA defensive team multiple times. I mean, best defensive shot blocking guard in NBA history. I don't know if he'll be better, but I think he can. I think he could be in that same tier.
That's fair.
I have a hard time thinking Donovan's gonna just put up the same stats he has. I think he's been progressing, efficiency and scoring wise.
Right.
And I think he'll continue to. I mean, he's putting up the numbers. Dwayne Wade. Well, okay. Dwayne Wade led his team to a championship in his 3rd season.
Who's to say they can't this year?
That's
because if they play, let's say Mavericks do make it out. I'm taking
Dwayne
Utah
Wade
over.
Shaq.
I'm taking Dwayne Wade. Or, let's say Mavericks beat the Clippers. I am for sure taking Jazz over Dallas any day of the week.
What about Jazz Clippers though?
If Paul George is playing this way, no, I will take Clippers over Jazz.
Yeah.
Just because of their defense is incredible, and I do think they're more talented. But
we didn't think the Jazz would make it
We
past
didn't.
the first round.
we didn't. I honestly thought, and we got to also give props and kudos to Jamal Murray, who is
Yeah.
not as equally
He put up
having
a
a good
50
series
piece too.
Right. He's not having as good a success as Donovan, but he's putting up very, very similar numbers. He had bad game 2 and 3, but game 1 and game 4 were excellent. So we got
That's
to
the
tip our
one
hat
thing
off.
about Jamal.
Yeah.
A little inconsistent. But Donovan Mitchell, I think at his peak, I was hesitant to I'd always thought he'd be like maybe 8, 9, 10, top 10 at the peak of his career. But I'm thinking he could be higher.
He really could slide in that top 5.
I think he could.
He really, really could.
I could see Luka, Giannis, Tatum, Mitchell, maybe Zion, maybe Trey.
Even Morant. Morant's got
Morant,
potential.
yeah. I mean, those are kind of the guys I think are going to take over the league.
Yeah.
The league's in good hands, and I'm excited.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Going back kind of to Paul George, who's been in the league since when did he get drafted? 11? 12?
Yeah, 11.
11. So he's been in the league for 9 years. Okay. He's been in the playoffs multiple occasions. And we've seen stars who have emerged as where we could have seen Tatum absolutely be crapped this playoffs. He's done phenomenal. He's averaging 27, 10, shooting terrific. He's shooting 45% from the three-point line, about 48% from the field, 2 blocks a game. Tatum's playing great. Donovan's playing great. Luka's playing great. All these young players are showing up.
They're
Paul
showing
George,
out, dude.
who's an All-NBA firster.
In what should be the prime of his career.
Right, absolutely.
The NBA's in good hands.
Speaking of that, we're going to get to our third player, and that is Luka Doncic. And I mean, he's just incredible. I mean, I think he's already had 2 40-point triple-doubles this playoffs. Hasn't he?
Yes, yeah.
2 40-point triple-doubles this playoffs, I believe.
This last game was like 43, 17, 13.
Hits the
And
game
then
winning
didn't he have
shot.
a 40, 20, or was that in the bubble?
That might have been the
Regular
bubble. But
season.
regardless,
Okay.
it was within the seeding games or the playoffs. A 40, 20, 10 or 15? Regardless, it was a 40-point, 20-rebound triple-double. I mean, okay, let me just pull that out of my butt.
Like, I just don't. Why do people hate on him? I know he's not the most efficient. By far, that's his.
Right,
His
only
biggest
there's
thing.
James Harden.
No, but I mean, like
Maybe
Shaq right after the game, when everyone's going crazy, Shaq. Oh, we've seen this before. Okay, Shaq. When have you seen a 21-year-old do what Luka's doing?
Right.
Ever?
Right.
I can't think of it.
And if it's Oscar Robertson, we've never seen it. You've never even seen it, Shaq. Come on.
Yeah. So Shaq and Skip Bayless specifically, not that they're going to see this, but just stop hating. People out there who just want to discredit Luka because he's not the most efficient, get out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wasn't playing the way he is, they'd be out already.
Skip Bayless called him a terrible three-point shooter.
Terrible.
Terrible three-point shooter.
He's not.
He's not. He might.
He does force up some bad
Yes,
shots.
right.
He does.
Right.
When he misses pretty good sometimes.
Yeah.
But I mean, he buried that 3. He buried a step back 3 to win the game. They were down. They weren't tied.
Right.
Like this wasn't going to second overtime. This was make or miss. And
This was a 3-1 lead potentially.
and Skip Bayless is like that was a 1,000,000-to-1 shot. Okay, but he made the one.
Right.
He made it.
Right.
Who cares if it's
Give
a
it up
difficult
just
shot?
because you didn't want him
He
to win.
made it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean,
Luka Doncic is absolutely leading his team. I think the Mavericks as a team are playing pretty well. I think Trey Burke and Seth Curry and Tim Hardaway out of nowhere, they're getting what they want as well. I mean, dude, I don't know. I mean, after seeing the Mavericks do what they're doing to the Clippers, I could see, I don't know, I've never picked the Clippers to win the championship this year. But I'm less and less convinced as time goes on.
I am too.
Because I don't know. I don't know how they stop Utah if Conley and Mitchell are playing the way they do. And Joe Ingles, he scored 20. And Jordan Clarkson's always putting 20 plus off the bench every game. And Gobert's had his way with Jokic, one of the best centers in the league. Say the Clippers make it past the Mavericks, then they get bloodied up by the Jazz. Then they got to play the Lakers or probably the Rockets, I would think.
I don't know.
I think the Rockets are making it past OKC.
I don't know. They put up a fight, man.
They are. But it's not going to be easy for the Clippers to make their way. It's not an easy thing to win a championship, obviously.
What was I going to say? Oh, yes. You probably didn't see it, but Skyler, who was also on the show, you guys know Skyler, he posted on Facebook, and I think he hit it pretty good on the head about Luka Doncic. And this is kind of a stretch, but it's legit, I think. He doesn't just have potential to be one of the greatest of all time. Luka Doncic has the potential to be the greatest player in NBA history. I mean, Michael Jordan wasn't a great three-point shooter. Are you ever going to call him a terrible three-point shooter, Skip? No, you won't. But he was not a good three-point shooter, let's face it. So, I don't care if Michael Jordan's clutcher than Luka Doncic.
I mean, you just gotta, that's one of those things that we're going to see over the course of his career. I mean, we're still considering his LeBron, and he's 17 years in, so I'm not going to rule it out. I mean, he's ridiculously good. I could easily see us saying he's probably one of the best unathletic players.
Yeah, right.
He's not super athletic.
Right.
I mean, he can dunk and he can get to the rim and stuff, but it's definitely his skill that he beats you with.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see how Giannis and Luka progress over the years.
Right.
Giannis with his freak athleticism and Luka with his lack of athleticism. Just two completely different players, but it'll be interesting to see how their careers turn out. I'm really excited for the future of the NBA. Sometimes I get sad, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, Curry's not young, Dame's not young, LeBron's in the twilight of his career.
Right.
Dwayne's gone, Dirk's gone, Kobe is retired. Well, Kobe's gone.
He's gone.
Gone. I mean, Yao Ming, Vince Carter, these players that we really watched, I mean, specifically as kids, are gone.
Right.
But there's the NBA has definitely got some stars in the making, for sure.
Speaking of stars in the making, let's talk about a little bit about, not necessarily Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, but the whole atrociousness of the 76ers team. That team is just awful. And they did the best move possible by firing Brett Brown after my Celtics beat them in 4. And kudos to Jake's Heat. They also swept last night. That was uneasy. I didn't think they were going to sweep. I thought they were going to win the series.
I picked the Heat to win the series too.
But I didn't expect them to sweep.
I thought it was going to be tough, man.
Well, I think if Sabonis would have played, it would have been. But
I mean, Sabonis isn't changing the whole series.
Right.
Maybe helping them win some games, though. That's true.
Yes. But regardless, 76ers got swept, which...
And it didn't seem particularly close at all.
Right.
The Heat and the Pacers had some battles, for sure.
Right.
Most games were really competitive. Philadelphia, Boston were not competitive.
Right. It's a lot of like the game 4, Boston only won by 4, but they were up by like 13 I think the last 2 minutes. So like they made a little push. It wasn't very hard.
Garbage time.
Yes. Yeah. Right. So do you think it's smart that they fired Brett Brown?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Was he? I don't know much about Brett Brown.
Right.
I know he was never in consideration for Coach of the Year.
Oh, by the way, congratulations to Nick Nurse, the Toronto Raptors head coach.
Yep.
He won Coach of the Year. So.
I think he definitely had some talent, and was it the second round that they made it to last year when Kawhi knocked him out? Because was it Boston and Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals?
No, it was Milwaukee.
Okay, that's right. All right.
Milwaukee beat Boston second round.
Okay. All right, I gotcha. They made it to the second round last year. First swept this year. I think 2 years ago when Simmons was playing his first year. I think they made it past the Heat in the first round and then lost to
Boston.
Boston. Yep, I think it was Boston that year.
They just can't
So
beat
they've
us.
had some talent. They definitely had some talent, and I still think they could have a bright future with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I think those are the two you want to keep together.
And they did say they are not on the trading block. They said they're not willing
That's
to
good.
trade
Yeah,
Joel
that's
and
right.
Ben.
That's right. Elton Brand said he wants to compliment them, and I think that's smart. I think they're incredibly great players. So I think if they're able to bring in a good coach for the future, I don't know if Tyronn Lue's kind of one of their guys.
Don't
I
bring
don't
in
think
Tyronn Lue.
Lue's the guy.
Tyronn Lue should not be a coach at all. He is not coach.
So I think it was good to part ways with Brett Brown. I mean, they just got swept.
Right.
Did you really have a whole lot of options?
Well, here's the thing I think is kind of funny.
Although they didn't have Ben Simmons, who
I think
he's
it would've
not
made a
my
difference.
favorite player.
I think he would have made a
I
difference.
think
though.
he is a big difference maker for Philadelphia.
I think he could have guarded Kemba a
especially
lot better than Shake.
defensively.
Right.
Mhm.
Joel Embiid was drafted in 14, correct?
Believe so.
Okay, he played.
Yeah.
When did he play? 16?
Yeah, he's out for like 2 years, and then he played like 31 games as a rookie, and he's played since.
If their motto is still trust the process, you guys got to give it up, because you guys cannot keep trusting in the trash that is on your team right now, and that is your whole.
You think Joel Embiid is true?
No. I don't think. No,
Their roster.
Joel Embiid's a great center. They do not. When you watch them play, they have no fluidity at all. Ben Simmons plays,
I think
yes.
coaching is huge in that.
But, right. And if I'm the new Tyronn Lue or whoever is that coach, you have got to find a way. I don't know how you're going to do it, but get rid of Al Horford. No one's going to want to take his contract up. I get that.
That's true.
But find a way to get rid of him. To be honest, Tobias, goodbye. I think you need to, because if you can get some really nice pieces for those guys,
You know what would make a lot of sense? I don't know how well they would do it, but if you could get Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons to run a pick and roll, good luck stopping it, okay?
Right.
Because if Ben Simmons gets downhill, he's like a mini LeBron James.
Right.
He can finish really well when he's going downhill and he's got some speed. You've got Joel Embiid. If you've got him coming down the lane, finishing, I think you can do a lot of things with that. And then just surround him with some good role players. I mean, not everyone has to be a superstar, right? I mean, they had Jimmy, Tobias, Ben Simmons, and Embiid last year.
Guys, that's a
Made it to the
championship
second
team.
round. That's
That is a
really good
championship
roster.
team.
They also had, I think, Shamet, Redick, and I don't know who else they had.
That's a
but,
championship
that's a
team.
really good roster right there, right? And they made
They
it to the
screwed it up.
second round.
They screwed it up.
Mm-hmm. So I think actually develop an offense. Try and keep Joel Embiid down low where he's so effective.
Right.
Get him
Don't
rolling to the basket like Gobert, catching and finishing. I mean, he's huge.
please do not give your centers any plays that have them in the 3-point line, especially Joel Embiid. I don't give a
He's
rat's
not a good
but
shooter.
if he can hit one or two 3-pointers a game,
I don't think
he'll
he can
take
even do
12
that.
to get that. Okay? Don't run any 3-point plays for Joel Embiid. He's not a 3-point shooter. Put him in the gosh dang post and let him be a big man where he will literally
Eat
be
you
the
up.
greatest center in the league.
He will eat you up.
He would be the greatest center in the league if he was constantly down low in the paint. Easy.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, I think Philadelphia. I don't know if they'll ever win a championship, but if they do, it's going to be because they developed an offense built around Embiid and Simmons and get them to buy into some sort of system and run some sort of offense. Because they could be great defensively with those two. I mean, those two could be top 10 players in the league
Right.
for sure.
Right.
And if you've got two top 10 players in the league, if you've got a decent roster around them, it's like the Lakers this year, right? I mean, you've got LeBron and AD, and the rest, absolutely expendable players.
Right.
If you lost anyone outside of LeBron and AD this postseason, it's not a big deal.
Right.
So
I
Philadelphia
do think Avery Bradley will hurt him in the end. I do think Avery Bradley will bite him in the butt a little bit, but regardless.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of...
I think we should just run through the series, kind of run over what we've seen so far and who's advanced?
I do want to say really fast, Jake, let's talk about this really fast.
Okay.
Speaking of what we're talking about, Philadelphia doesn't have an offense. They don't have a lot of good plays or whatever the heck they do. Here's another possible coach firing. If Houston gets eliminated, do you kick Mike D'Antoni?
I think so, yeah.
I think you have to. One sec, sorry, folks.
I think he's had enough time to do what he's done, and I think they got as far as they could with him. But if they don't win it this year,
Yeah. And you also have to think about changing the play every once in a while. Every single play is a 3-point shot. My gosh, how boring is that? I watched that game 4.
Basketball.
They started the third quarter 8 for 8. And I think they went 5 for 25 in 2 quarters.
They were
You
abysmal.
have no business shooting 57 3-pointers in one gosh dang game. Change it up. It really wouldn't hurt. I mean,
Let's see.
Houston Rockets are the biggest, or at least their offense is the biggest joke. And
It's so predictable.
when you say you live by the 3 and then you die by the 3, Houston Rockets is always the definition of dying by the 3. And always at the worst spot. They were in Game 7 of the Golden State Warriors, was it last year?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, Game 7. And they missed, 27
in a
threes
row.
in a row. How does that even happen, Jake? You could grab a 10-year-old off the street.
Why didn't you just say, Kate, we're going to run... They had a really good pick and roll.
Right,
with
they had
Harden and
Capella back there.
It's like, you've got 2 almost guaranteed baskets most of the time, and it's called pick and roll with Capella or James Harden getting to the free throw line, because he gets there at will, and he's going to make most of them. 27 threes that you missed in a row. Wouldn't you stop maybe after, 15? Wouldn't you think you'd say, hey, we've got Chris Paul, great mid-range shooter, James Harden, best offensive player in the league, and Clint Capella, who's got a great pick and roll with those 2 ball handlers. And this is what we're going to keep on doing. In Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, you make it to the finals, you've got a pretty good chance to win.
Right.
Right? I would get rid of D'Antoni after this year. I don't personally like him. I just don't think they're I don't think he's a well-balanced enough coach to get his team over the top. Golden State was great offensively, but guess what? They were great defensively.
Right.
The Spurs, great offensively, great defensively. Greg Popovich, right? I think he wants his teams to be great offensively. He just thinks he's going to outgun everyone.
Well, that's the thing. He always has really dang good teams. That Phoenix Suns team that he was coaching with the whole 7-second offense thing with Steve Nash, Amari, Joe Johnson, Sean Marion, those 4 guys right there, I'm going to say, easily could have won a championship. Easily. But
The 2012 Lakers.
Yeah, right.
Kobe and Dwight.
He manages to
Dwight.
screw everything up.
Has he ever won a championship? I don't think he has, as a coach.
I don't think he has either.
He's had some really good teams, though.
He has, and that's what I'm trying to say is,
He's not. I don't think he's been to the finals.
right. And that to me is a testament of he's always talked about. And I don't know why, because he to me is not a great coach. If you have that much talent,
I can do what he
especially
does.
in Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Joe Johnson, and Sean Marion, and you can't do nothing, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And I think they have to fire him if they lose, which they will. I don't think they can.
It just seems like the great teams are just not one-dimensional.
Right.
The Warriors have been... That might have... that dynasty, aside from, the 60s Celtics...
Right.
Maybe the 80s Lakers, the 90s Bulls...
Right.
The early 2000s Lakers... That Golden State team is absolutely in the conversation and up there is one of the best. Right? Absolute dynasty. And they were amazing defensively and offensively.
Right.
The Raptors this year, surprising everyone, obliterated the Nets in the first round.
Right.
Don't have I wouldn't even say they have a superstar.
Right.
I'd say Siakam's a star. I'd say Lowry's a star. Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka are very solid.
Van Vliet's
They've
been
got
great
like
too.
Norman Powell showing out, OG Anunoby, like all these guys that are like
Van
good.
Vliet's had like
Fred
back
VanVleet.
30-point games or whatever. He's been great.
Yeah, I mean,
Houston,
I think
as of right
they're
now,
a result of great coaching. The Raptors.
oh,
Nick
absolutely,
Nurse.
absolutely,
Nick
absolutely.
Nurse might be one of my favorite coaches.
Absolutely.
I think he might be the face of coaching going forward.
And I know Russell Westbrook is out,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that would have changed anything. I still, honestly, if Russell Westbrook was still playing, I still think it would be 2-2.
You think so?
I really do. And
I'll have to see, man. I'm still. I mean, just
when is he even coming back?
hopefully. I don't know. Let's look it up. Let's look it up real quick. That's something that I'm curious about that I am wanting to look up.
But regardless, like, and the whole time James Harden has been on the Houston Rockets, they've never changed their playing style, ever.
Let's see.
It's boring to watch 57 3-pointers a game.
So this
Not gonna
was
lie.
back on the 23rd. Russell Westbrook getting closer to return, but ruled out for Game 4. Okay, let's see what we can find out real quick.
So if he's getting closer, he probably will be back for.
So it was a
Second
right
round.
quad strain, which isn't easy to come back from, but it's not like a.
Season.
He didn't tear his quad.
He won't be out for the playoffs unless they get out.
I don't think he'll be out for the playoffs. I think he'll return, but. So this is Mike D'Antoni. He said, "I don't have a better idea about when Westbrook will be cleared to play. He's doing great and working hard. It feels like it's getting closer. Whatever that means, we really don't know. He's living in the training room and he's doing his exercise." Okay, so that to me sounds like it's not this round. Questionable for next round if you don't even have a time frame.
Who knows?
So-
Maybe they don't even get out this first. Maybe they get out this first round. I don't know. All right, you wanted to run down the series really fast.
Let's go over it. Lakers Portland. I've got Lakers closing
game.
it out next game.
Dame will
Pretty
probably
easily.
be out.
Goodbye.
Colin can't do it.
Goodbye, Portland. We've got what we just talked about, the Rockets and the Thunder.
2-2.
I think this one could go 7.
I think it will.
I'm probably taking Houston in 7.
would.
But again, that's one that I'm just could go either way, absolutely. I wouldn't put money on either team because I'd be scared I'd lose it. Jazz and Denver. Think the Jazz are going to close tonight?
No, I think it'll be Denver then Utah.
Okay, all right, Jazz
So I
and 6.
6-6. I don't know though.
I don't know, dude. I
I
can
don't
see
know.
the Jazz closing tonight. I'm going to go with the Jazz closing tonight.
I think Jamal Murray's going to be more ticked off in his entire life. He busts out a 50 whopper, okay? And they lose by 2.
Yeah.
And they need to see something else from other players. It's been
They just don't have an
Jokic and
answer
Murray.
for the Jazz's offense. So, but
Which
okay.
is ridiculous to say because Jazz don't really have a good offense to me. Like they're the
Conley's
best
been pretty
3-point
good.
shooter. They're the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA.
Mhm.
So that's the thing we've talked
Surprising.
about before. They don't shoot 57 3-pointers to be the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. Like Houston. Houston, yes, you probably have made the most 3-point made the most 3-point shots in NBA history
You've taken
by a
those.
long shot. Well, you've probably already taken triple the other amount. I mean,
Yeah. So we both have the Jazz winning, especially at this point. I mean,
3-1, man.
Not a what's the word? A shocking pick when they're up 3-1, but I really have a hard time imagining the Jazz losing this series.
Yeah, I can't see Denver winning 3 in a row.
No.
I could see Denver
No.
winning 1.
One.
I could see it going to 7. I don't think it will, but
Okay. I'd say no longer than 6. I think
Yeah.
the Jazz at 6. If they lose tonight, they're closing next game.
yeah, for sure.
And then Clippers, Mavericks.
As long as Porzingis is out, I have to take Clippers.
Okay, that's fair. In 6 or 7?
6.
6? Okay, so you think they win the next 2 probably? Depending on Porzingis' health.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Clippers probably in 7 because I think the Mavs will win one more. Maybe
That's
tonight.
fair.
Who knows? Wait, do they play tonight? Yeah, they do. They
Yeah,
play
it's
tonight.
Utah and
Okay.
Clippers.
Eastern Conference, we've got Bucks and Magic. Bucks going to sweep the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have given up game 1, let's be honest here. But the Bucks have kind of quietly been playing pretty well. I haven't heard too much about them.
Except for their Robin Chris Middleton has been absolutely quiet, which is great news for Boston fans. And I think Miami's going to have a really good time with him. Next, I think Miami's going to bully him.
You think so?
I don't.
I think Bam's a good matchup on Giannis. About as
I
good as
really
it
do.
gets.
And who else you got? Chris Middleton? Woo-hoo! I think Jimmy Butler can guard Chris Middleton pretty dang well.
Oh, we got to talk about
And
my
Goran Dragic has been terrific
Okay.
in these playoffs. And here's the scariest part.
Duncan Robinson.
Kendrick Nunn hasn't even played yet. And he's
He
healthy.
played it a little bit yesterday.
He's Eric Spoelstra, and that's another testament to how good Eric Spoelstra is. Even if you are one of the best players on the team, if he doesn't like your performance, he will sit you. And he said Kendrick Nunn, yeah, he's ready, but he just doesn't look like he's in good shape.
Enough, but we don't think he's going to help us win playing extensive minutes, so we're going to start Goran Dragic, which we haven't done all year.
How many points did Kendrick Nunn average? Like 17?
I think about 15.
15 points they're not getting from Kendrick Nunn. That honestly, if they slide into this Milwaukee series, which they totally could,
It could be difficult.
and Dragic has been out of his mind. He's not putting up 40 or 50 a game, but he's consistently 25ing it.
Jimmy Butler's been really good. Bam's
Watch out, man.
Bam's actually been quiet, but still
Yeah.
effective. And Duncan Robinson, he might be one of my favorite, maybe top like 2 or 3 favorite players on the Heat. I mean, that guy can just shoot it lights out. And these aren't
crazy
catch and shoot.
Right.
These are JJ Redick style, coming off screens, catch and shoot off screens, like multiple feet behind the line.
Right.
Quicker than lightning release. I mean,
Right.
this guy has just been.
Well, that's what they said
absurd.
yesterday when they won. They said when he came in the league, he was a spot up shooter.
Mhm.
Like he was strictly catch and shoot.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You're not.
Yeah, no.
Opposing teams are not letting him catch and shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, you are on him like stink on, like fly on stink, right?
Speak on fly. Yes. I think Miami is NBA's best kept secret this year. I do like the matchup between Milwaukee and Miami, to be blatantly honest.
I think they're up 3-1.
I do like the matchup. I always think the NBA is in this weird conspiracy where they let teams win. So will they let Miami win this? I don't know. But talent-wise, is Miami... They're playing great. I mean...
Talent-wise, I gotta go with Milwaukee. But talent doesn't mean much if you're not playing well.
I know.
So, Miami's been playing well.
Giannis is,
Let's
to me,
hope and
Giannis and
pray.
Brooke are the only 2 players playing well. Chris Middleton, if he has, I'm going to say it right now, if Chris Middleton plays as bad as he did against Orlando with Miami wins. You cannot have, it's like Paul George and the Clippers.
Oh, man. Like, I wasn't so hot on my Heat this year coming into the season, but I've been very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on from there. Who else do we have there?
Toronto Nets. You cannot say anything.
Toronto Nets.
That wasn't even a series.
No, that was the most lopsided in the playoffs thus far.
I would have rather
Even more than Boston, Philly, and the Heat.
Brooklyn had no one.
3 sweeps in the East.
Look at the East go, man.
Pretty top heavy. Pretty top heavy.
8, 7, 6 seed in the East are always the best teams.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and then Boston. Tatum's been great. Kemba's been great. Jalen's
Boston's looking dangerous.
Gordon is out.
They don't need him.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. Is that all the matchups?
We forgot one. Who else is in the East? No, we went
We
over.
got all
We
the
got all of them.
East.
Boston, Miami, Toronto. East is pretty predictable.
Yeah.
I think the second round in the East will be pretty good. I'm definitely looking forward to Boston, Milwaukee, especially.
Right.
No. It's
Boston,
Milwaukee.
Toronto.
Yeah, Boston, Toronto. That's what I meant. That one's going to be good.
I think.
If I were a Celtics fan, I'd be much more concerned about the second round than the Bucks.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I was talking to Skylar yesterday.
Or if the Heat win Miami.
I'm more worried about Toronto than I am Milwaukee. I think Boston can beat Milwaukee. And I honestly think that Boston can beat Toronto as well, but it's going to be the toughest matchup in the whole playoffs. Not finals included. But
Dude, I might say Toronto might be tougher for Boston. Let's say Boston gets to the finals. Whoever comes out, whether it's the Lakers or the Clippers, but at this point, I'm thinking the Lakers.
I think it's only the Lakers, and even then, I'm like, Lakers.
I mean, if I'm Boston, I wouldn't say the Lakers are a whole lot tougher of a matchup than Toronto.
Right. If I'm
Toronto's just a
Boston,
good team.
if Boston ends up in the finals against Lakers, I like Boston's odds. I don't like Adam Silver's odds because
All right.
LeBron will be like, I stubbed my toe. Can you suspend Jason Tatum next game or something? But that's
The playoffs are here, and it's been fun.
it has been fun, and I think second round the NBA finals start getting going.
Yeah.
At least in the East. West is entertaining because you got Clippers, Mavericks, Thunder, and Rockets. But
That's it.
I think that's it, everyone. So thank you guys.